Grand Rising, everyone. Thanks for tuning back in once again to the original Queen AHMADIYYAH'S TV show or show. I'm your host, Queen AHMADIYYAH'S, and this is your morning wake-up call. So as you're coming in, please feel free to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Be sure to click the notification bell and click the word all so that you're notified each time the Queen Goddess goes live. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram at Queen AHMADIYYAH'S. You can also follow me on Twitter at DGoddess27. All right? Back to the basics. Hello, Ryan, Sexy One, Sister Blackfoot Winfield, Stacy, William, October, Trisha, Aquarius Queen, Lulu, Danny, I see you, James. All right, let's get ready to get black into it. Hello, Ayon, Jamel, Rodney, Pink Blue, Pearly, Meek. All right, Reggie, JB1, Everall. All right, shout out to everyone, Queen Candy J. Shout out to everyone in the chat and everyone tuned into the Queen. Let's get ready to get into it, beloved. All right, Courtney, I see you. Okay, so with that all being said, let's talk about it, people. All right? Let me pull up these receipts. Okay, here we go. First things first. And so the LAPD shot a man who was holding a cell phone. They actually thought that he had a gun, all right? They said they thought he had a gun, and I think it may have been reported to them that the man had a gun when someone called. So let's get into it. I'm going to share my screen so you all can see the footage. Everyone go ahead and get those likes up. Let's get the likes up. I should have as many likes as there are people currently in the chat, all right? Very important to like the videos and share.
This app right here, it's called Audible. There's actually a better way to make money on it.
This critical incident community briefing is intended to provide you with information about an officer-involved shooting that occurred in Newton Division in the city of Los Angeles on March 29th, 2022 at around 7 p.m. Newton patrol officers received an assault with a deadly weapon suspect radio call in the area of Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard and Avalon Boulevard. The caller reported that the suspect was standing on the sidewalk pointing a handgun at vehicle occupants passing by. The suspect was identified as Jose Barrera. Jose Barrera is a 45-year-old resident of Los Angeles. Barrera walked to a nearby restaurant in the 4000 block of San Pedro Street, where it was reported that he was pointing a handgun at customers inside the location.
You said something about a black hat. Yeah, no, he does have the black hat. It looks like he does have a handgun. It's firing at a house right now.
As officers in an air unit arrived overhead, they observed Barrera walking toward the 4000 block of Adair Street, armed with what they believed was a handgun, and directed responding patrol officers to his location. The officers exited their vehicle, and an officer-involved shooting occurred.
X62, shots fired, Officer Nikole.
Barrera was struck by gunfire and fell to the ground, where he was taken into custody.
Arrest him. Ready, push. Put your hand behind your back. Hand behind your back.
What I do, sir?
Los Angeles Fire Department paramedics transported Barrera to a local hospital where he was treated for a gunshot wound sustained during the incident. Barrera's large black cell phone was recovered on the sidewalk where he was taken into custody and booked as evidence. On March 31st, 2022, the case was presented to the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office for filing consideration on one count of assault with a deadly weapon. However, the Los Angeles County District Attorney's Office declined to file charges against Barrera. In the next several months, the LAPD will continue to investigate and analyze this incident. We will continue interviewing any witnesses that may come forward and complete any forensic tests.
So my question is, they just got out and started shooting. They still knew not to kill. Right, because he wasn't black. He wasn't drenched in melanin, honey. So yeah, they didn't kill him. And thank God for that. Not that I wanted them to. But it's just always amazing how they can shoot and wound people. Everyone except black people. Here's the thing though. I find it very interesting that they still charged him with assault with a deadly weapon. Who did he assault? Who did he assault? He was on the ground with his hands outstretched. He didn't assault anyone. Where was the deadly weapon? He had a phone. So even after, I want you to pay attention, because even after the police discovered that he only had a cell phone, they still charged him with assault with a deadly weapon. Now, she said the prosecutor refused to pursue the case. Well, the prosecutor had no reason to pursue the case. You see, he didn't assault anyone, according to what we just witnessed, and he didn't have a deadly weapon. He had a cell phone. So why they filed those frivolous charges is beyond me, unless they're trying to cover up the fact or justify the fact that they shot that man. How do you think a cell phone is a gun? I don't care if the phone is black. A cell phone looks nothing like a gun under any circumstance. I don't know how anyone thinks so. And especially and specifically, a cell phone should not look like a gun to people who in fact hold and use guns every day on a regular basis. How do you confuse the two? So here's the thing. If they look so much like guns, cell phones that is, why is it that when they get ready for work or they put down their gun and their cell phone, they don't confuse the two when they pick them back up? I mean, if they look so much alike, I'm just saying. Okay, that's all BS. And they say they'll continue to investigate and they're looking for witnesses for forensics, and they want to do forensics. Forensics for what? What forensics need to be done? I'm sorry, explain that. I don't see what forensics needs to be done unless they're talking about ballistics for the officer who shot him, right? To find out, if the bullet, which officer the bullet came from, which officer's gun the bullet came from. So what are they talking about forensics? They're acting like this is a whole case that they just have to solve and asking people to help if you have any information. Any information on what? It's all crazy, honey. Pay attention. It's a hot mess, okay? Odd Negro says they can never admit when they are wrong. Total narcissism. Exactly. That's what they don't do. They will try any method that they can to try to make it all make sense. Sadly, they cannot. Okay? Now, so with that all being said, that should be no surprise to any of us, right? Hayward says this guy must not know what a lawyer is. Well, he probably has one. He probably has one, I'm sure. At least I hope so. Okay? And so anyway, yes, absolutely. Justice Goober says they're trying to reduce their liability for the lawsuit. Yes, absolutely. That's what they're trying to do. All right? It's just so crazy. Now, anyway, listen to this. Some fool who was babysitting, and this is out of Florida. Y'all know Florida stays with the BS. So does Georgia. But this idiot, this demon seed, put a baby, or not a baby, I'm sorry. She put a 4-year-old child in a dryer. So listen to this. Florida babysitter put child in dryer and spun him around, according to deputies. And this was a Lake County woman has been arrested after the sheriff's office says she put a child that she was caring for in a dryer and spun him around. Amber Chapman, 35 years old, of Eustis, is facing an aggravated child abuse charge. Now, according to an arrest affidavit filed on February the 1st, the 4-year-old child was brought to UF Health Leesburg Hospital, where the boy reportedly stated that Miss Amber put him in the dryer with towels. So let's go to the footage. Be careful who you allow to keep your children. There are demons out here.
spoke to a babysitter being charged with child abuse. She's accused of putting a 4-year-old in a dryer and then turning it on. But as Fox 35's Connor Hansen reports, she says those accusations are false.
She's sticking to her innocence, saying the truth will come out in trial. But she's accused of putting the 4-year-old inside the dryer, closing it, and turning it on. According to the report, the boy told detectives she then stopped the dryer to look inside before closing it and starting again. According to the police report, the child told medical staff at the hospital, quote, Miss Amber put him in the dryer with towels and he spun around. Investigators say the boy is talking about Amber Chapman, his babysitter, who his parents trusted to watch him regularly.
They were pretty familiar with her. They trusted her. And so we're not sure, what caused this to happen, just based on the interview that the detective had with the kid as well as the parents, it doesn't seem to be a behavior problem. So I'm not sure if it's just something that was going on with her.
The sheriff's office says the boy had to be taken to the hospital with bruises all over his body, including his head and face.
The child explained to the mother that he was in a lot of pain. And that's when the mother questioned, well, how did all of this happen? And that's when he explained that the babysitter had put him in the dryer.
The sheriff's office stresses the importance of knowing who's around your kids.
As far as babysitters, we try to vet them. We try to make sure that that is someone that we will want to watch our kids. But I would say this: listen to your kids. They will tell you, what you need to hear. And fortunately, this was a mother that listened, and then we got to the bottom of it.
At 11, what we found when we looked into the babysitter's criminal background. Connor Hansen, Fox 35 News.
So they did investigation into her criminal background. So this one was a whole criminal, first of all. And that being said, that just goes to show that parents absolutely need to vet these people very carefully before you allow them to keep your children. Okay, she was a whole criminal. All right. So depending on what people are, have been to jail or prison for, you might not want them keeping your kids. You might not want to hire them as babysitters. All right, who does that? Now, she can sit there and lie all she wants and say that she didn't do anything to that child, that she, in fact, didn't put the little boy in the dryer. But why would he say it? Why would he make that up? He had bruises all over his body. Where did the bruises come from? She didn't bother to explain that. And it happened while he was in her care. So here's the question. If Amber Chapman didn't put him in the dryer, what did she do to him? She apparently did something. And I believe exactly what that poor child said. She put him in a dryer with a towel. Okay, can you imagine? Do you know how hot a dryer gets? I mean, when you go to take clothes out of the dryer after it's been on a certain setting, it is so hot you can literally burn your hand. And she put a child in there, a whole child, and then had the nerve to look in on him and then close it back. Now, they're only charging her with child abuse or whatever. Honey, she should be charged with more than that as far as I'm concerned. That's just wicked and evil. Who does that to a little harmless child? Yeah, Queen Candy J says exactly, Queen, to elaborate on the story for this is also crazy, honey. For the baby to make that up. Exactly. Please. I wasn't letting no one take care of my baby, says Shawshana. Exactly. Okay. It's just not, you just can't trust some people. And even if you do allow people to keep your kids and you even think you can trust them, you should still use like a nanny cam or something like that where you can actually go back and watch the footage and see what they were doing. Honey, I've seen people keeping people's children, and one lady beat the infant upside the head with a wooden spoon. I mean, just torturing the little baby. Some people are just crazy, honey. Absolutely crazy. And so anyway, now listen to this. The people of Tulsa, the survivors of the Tulsa Race Massacre, they're saying that they will possibly get reparations. Here's the thing. Did they wait long enough or no? I'm just saying. They say they're closer to reparations. Hold on, let me pull this up. Likes up, everyone, please like and share. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Thank you in advance. So I'm going to show the video. I'm going to share my screen so y'all can see this video. Just as soon as I can get it queued. Okay, here we go.
When the Tulsa Race Massacre happened. Tonight, Hugh Van Ellis, or Uncle Red, is 101 and one of 3 survivors suing officials in Tulsa, Oklahoma for one last chance at justice.
I'm lucky to be here, lucky to be alive to tell this story. I didn't want to say this. It's been inside of me for a long time.
Tonight, winning a major victory, a judge ruling their reparations lawsuit will go to trial. Just a day before, supporters showed solidarity during a local prayer rally. Tulsa native Demario Solomon Simmons was there. He represents massacre survivors and descendants.
What exactly are survivors asking for?
We're basically stating very clearly that the massacre that happened in 1921 created a public nuisance.
Plaintiffs claim the public nuisance caused negative outcomes for survivors and descendants. Now they're seeking multiple forms of restitution.
One of the things we're asking for in our lawsuit is educational scholarships and grants because of the educational opportunity that was stripped and stolen away.
The 1921 Tulsa Race Massacre was sparked by a rumor that a Black man, Dick Rowland, had sexually assaulted a white girl, Sarah Page.
The official death toll was 37, but historians like Carlos Hill now say the attack on the Greenwood community by a white mob and officials likely led to 300 fatalities. The result, survivors say, generations of racial disparity, economic inequality, and trauma.
My father, he managed to get us out of there on a horse and a wagon. We just had to leave with just our night clothes on.
In Uncle Red's case, he says the looting and destruction from the massacre forced his family to flee Tulsa, leaving them in financial ruin.
Do you feel like the massacre took away your chance for an education?
The massacre took it away. That's what I feel.
According to his lawyers, Uncle Red continues to live in poverty, adding his story is no anomaly. Over the decades, many Black Tulsa survivors have spoken out, even testifying in favor of reparations in front of Congress.
I was there when it happened. I'm still here.
In response to the suit, defendants did not immediately reply for comment. Some filed motions to dismiss the case, claiming plaintiffs' alleged injuries could not be remedied by the courts. Meanwhile, Tulsa's current mayor, G.T. Bynum, appointed a public oversight committee to investigate mass graves from the massacre. And while the survivors await their trial date, it hasn't stopped the community from organizing.
And why now?
We need to do it right now. It's time. It's time. It's been 100 years.
All right, with that, Zinclay joins us now live. So Zinclay, we know that this lawsuit can move forward now. What are the next steps?
Tom, that's right. The lawsuit can move forward. And I actually just spoke with the legal team for the survivors and descendants, and they emphasize that this is incredibly historic. They add that the judge will issue a detailed ruling soon, so they're not sure on what grounds the suit will move forward. But the bottom line, Tom, is that they will have their opportunity for a day in court, which after over 100 years is certainly something the survivors are celebrating tonight.
Well, it's been far too long. And that lady had the nerve to say, why now? Honey, if not now, then when? They should have been given reparations years ago. I hate the fact that they're in their hundreds. They're never going to get to enjoy that money, even if they ever do get it. Now, of course, granted, the money can go to their families, right? Their families will be able to use the money if they do, in fact, even get it. But it's just a sad shame that even if they do, they'll never be able to enjoy it themselves. That man said that he lived a life of poverty, okay? Can you imagine? Your family had everything. You had wealth and all of that, had your own businesses, your own homes, and all of that was just taken away. And let me tell you something. This government really gets on my last nerve when they have the audacity to talk about things such as Russia invading Ukraine, and they try to paint Putin as a devil. I'm not saying that he isn't a devil, but aren't they? This government committed terrorism, terroristic acts on their own people, their own citizens. They allowed the military to get involved because who was dropping those bombs? Who was flying around in planes dropping bombs? Because they never want to talk about that part. They want to talk about it. Whenever they talk about it, pay attention. When they talk about the Tulsa Massacre, they want to say, oh, you know, there was people fighting and shooting and all of this, like it was just a gunfight. They were dropping bombs on those people. And for those of you who don't know, the Gap Band, led by Charlie Wilson, that's why they're named that, the Gap Band. Okay, Greenwood, Archer, and Pine Street. Those were the 3 blocks where they destroyed all of the Black people's businesses. And Charlie Wilson's family are, you know, he's a descendant of the people that were involved in that Tulsa race war. All right, that's where they got that from. And even their song, "You Dropped a Bomb on Me," that's where they got it from. So my thing is, this government has committed known acts of terrorism on their own people. I mean, of course, it was Black people, so they don't really care, right? The same thing they did with Operation Move in 1985 in Philadelphia. And they have the nerve to talk about Putin like he's the only devil. What about them? Who are they? Who are they? At least in my mind, as far as I am concerned, Putin has a legit reason for what he's doing. Okay? Putin has a legit reason for what he's doing. They brought that to Putin's doorstep. All right? That's what they did. Even Pope Francis said the same thing. So with that all being said, the divided snakes has no room to talk about any other country on this earth when it comes to terrorism, acts of being inhumane, right? Being wicked, nefarious, committing genocide. They have no room to talk because the divided snakes, are the worst of the worst. Anyone else who is nefarious, any other country who does these acts, learned it from them. Hitler said he learned his tactics that he used from the United States, the way they treated the Negroes. That's what he said. So it's so funny to me. They love to demonize and vilify and call people demons and devils and wicked and evil when these people learned it from them. And if these people whom they call so evil and wicked and such devils learned it from them, then what the hell are they? That's what I'd like to know. What the hell are they? Make it all make sense. I'm sure they cannot. So anyway, let's move on and talk about Nikole Hannah-Jones, right? Now, Nikole Hannah-Jones is the lady who did the 1619 Project. Now, she says that the Republicans essentially is a white party. Democrats, she says, represent majority. Do they really? You know what I find interesting about what she said? Aren't they all white parties? I mean, they have to be because they all uphold a system of wanton supremacy. And at the end of the day, none of them have any agenda for Black people, care about Black people, have any policies beneficial to Black people, give reparations and tangibles to Black people. So they're both the same. It's so funny how some people like Nikole Hannah-Jones actually think that the Democrats are for us. They are not. And so the New York Times Magazine 1619 Project founder said that the Republicans are a white party and the Democrats are a party that actually represents the majority of Americans. That's what she said in a panel that she hosted on Saturday. Nikole Hannah-Jones made comments during the National Anti-Racist Book Festival hosted by Boston University Center for Anti-Racist Research on Saturday. She says the Republicans are a white party who understand that they actually cannot win elections with majority. And in this country, we have a swift demographic change occurring where Republicans understand that they actually cannot win elections with majorities because they are essentially a white party. And the Democrats represent a majority of the Americans, which is plurality of white voters and the majority of voters of all other races, that these two things go hand in hand, she said. Now, Real Clear Politics polling on the 2022 generic congressional vote has Republicans leading the Democrats by 4.7%. An April Gallup poll found that President Joe Biden's job approval had dropped by 20% among Black voters in comparison to when he took office, and has fallen by 21% by Hispanics. Now, Biden's approval rating among Black voters sits at 67% and 52% among Hispanics. She says trying to ensure your political primacy means that you have to really target and try to create racial resentment in order to drive your voters. And so we have seen all of this before. Now, the comment was made during a discussion on the 1619 Project and how multiple states around the country have banned the 1619 Project from being taught in schools. Well, they can't have that taught in schools. That's too close to critical race theory, as far as they're concerned. Now, Hannah Jones is most known for her work on the New York Times Magazine 1619 Project, which has been criticized for allegedly telling inaccurate parts of history. No, it's been criticized for telling the truth of history, which they don't want to be told. Now, such as the claim that one of the primary reasons the colonists decided to declare their independence from Britain was because they wanted to protect the institution of slavery. That's true. Where's the lie? The Times later corrected the essay to read, one of the primary reasons some of the colonists decided to declare their independence from Britain was because they wanted to protect the institution of slavery. She recently released a book based on the 1619 Project, which reached the bestseller list on Amazon. There is also a children's version of the book titled The 1619 Project, Born on the Water. Here's my thing. At the end of the day, she's trying to act as though the Democrats are for us, and they're not. And she needs to stop perpetuating that narrative, because if she's as smart as I think she is, she should know that that's not true. She should absolutely know that that's not true. Any Black person with common sense should know that that's not true. That's absolutely not true by any stretch of anyone's imagination, as far as I'm concerned. We all know that Joe Biden has not done anything for us while he's been in office. He never said that he would do anything for us while he was in office. In fact, all he did was pander. The same thing the Democrats always have done and continue to do. So I just find it very interesting when I hear people like her. Hold on. Because there's a pastor. I want you to see this video. I shared it on my Instagram yesterday. There's a pastor by the name of Reverend Albert Cleage. He talks about institutions are used for white purpose. And I want you to listen to this, because he actually says something about their history and how they don't want it spoken about. So I'm going to share my screen. Everyone, please get those likes up. Please like, share, and subscribe.
That white people use the institutions to accomplish white purpose. The white purpose is to maintain a power position and keep everybody else in a subordinate, powerless kind of position. Now that's the institution's purpose, and that's the way it functions and how it functions. And we got to realize then that everything that the schools teach is designed to fit into that purpose. The schools teach not objective truth, but what the white man wants to project as truth. Now that's from the very kindergarten right straight on through.
For example, what?
Sociology. Sociology is not a science in the sense that it's dealing objectively with the way people live together. It's dealing with the white man's pattern of living together as the norm by which we judge how other people live. If you live like white people live, then you're living the way you are supposed to live. If not, you're either primitive or insane as a people. Psychologically, it's the same thing. Psychology does not deal with any objective kind of discussion or development of how people live or analysis of how people function as individuals, but how does the white man function? If the white man does it this way, then this is the norm by which we judge all other people. If the white man is violent, then actually all people have to be violent to be normal. If you're not violent, obviously there's something wrong with you and you should be in an insane asylum. the whole pattern that's set up as a norm for human behavior by psychologists, all the whole library full of it. Psychiatrists, everybody that's dealing with it is dealing with it from a white point of view. So they teach white children, black children and white children, to look through white eyes. From the kindergarten on, the black child is beginning to look at the world and interpret it through white eyes. Everything he is wrong. Everything that exists in his community is wrong. And we ought to declare that white music really is no good, that white psychology is no good. The white man either acts like we do or he's insane. White sociology is no good. The very structure of white society indicates that white people, obviously in social structure, are either insane or they're abnormal. So we have to project in a black psychology, a black sociology, a black music, a black history that takes in the realities and that is essentially sound, as opposed to the mythology that the white man has developed out of his own ignorance, for one thing, out of his non-creativity, because the white man has never created anything. He's stolen things, but never created anything. He cannot actually deal with history because history is a recital of his total failure and his total absence of making any genuine contribution to the world. If we define that white people use the institutions to
And so with that all being said, that's just further proof that you need to homeschool your children. And if not homeschool them, then you should definitely be teaching them the truth of their history. When I was growing up, I was taught by my mother the truth of our history, okay? That Christopher Columbus, in fact, did not discover America. There were black people already here. All black people didn't come from Africa. There was black indigenous people already here. Those are the things that you should be teaching your children. That before being taken into captivity and forced into slavery, that their ancestors were architects, they were mathematicians, they were scientists, they were doctors, they were all of these things. Rather than just telling them that, oh, your ancestors were slaves. No, they were not slaves. They were doctors, mathematicians, scientists who were forced into slavery. That's what the ancestors were. And those are the things you should teach your children, because they're never going to learn these things in school, because school is, the purpose of school is to condition the minds of children. It is to indoctrinate them. And if you have your child going to be with the enemy for 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, do you think that child is learning more from them or from you? Well, likely they're learning more from them, because most parents aren't going to sit down, and they don't have time, or they don't take time to sit down and discuss these things with their children. And that's paramount. That's very important, because at the end of the day, if you don't give them knowledge of self, then they will inevitably be taught and learn to hate themselves. That's why we have children now who have a darker hue, like myself, and even darker, and they feel ugly. There was a video I saw on Instagram. It was so sad. A little beautiful little black girl. She said, "I'm so ugly." And she really felt that and meant it. And she sat there and cried. She was about 4 or 5 years old. Who taught her that she was ugly? I'm sure it happened when she was going to a public school. And the reason she accepted that is because obviously in the home that she was in, she had not been taught that she was beautiful and to love the skin that she's in. Now, of course, as she's sitting there crying on the video, her mother, or whomever the woman was that was doing her hair, told her that she was beautiful. But here's the thing. You don't tell your children they're beautiful after someone has made them feel ugly and given them low self-esteem. You tell them that before that, so that when someone comes to them saying something the opposite, they will dismiss that, discount it, and won't accept that, because they will know exactly who they are at the end of the day. Because sometimes you cannot unteach self-hate. That's why we have black people who want to walk around looking like Europeans. I call them Negropeans. They want to walk around here, getting their skin bleached, right? Wearing their hair like the Europeans and all of that at the end of the day. And it's all so crazy, and it's all self-hate. And I'm not talking about weave, because at the end of the day, when you wear weave, there's nothing wrong with that, because you can find weave that is the same texture as our hair. But some of us want to wear silky weave, right? That looks more like fur than hair. And they want to wear that. And that's because they want to be like the Europeans. And that's just fact. If anyone's offended, it is what it is. So with that all being said, if you don't teach your children knowledge of self, then someone else will teach them to hate themselves inevitably. And that's just fact. So now let's listen to this story about this principal or ex-principal by the name of Nadia Lopez. Now, she founded a school and she's no longer allowed to come to that school. She's been banned from there. She's been banned from the school. And I find this very interesting. Hold on. I'm going to share my screen so you all can see this. Okay, so Nadia Lopez, the former Brownsville principal who went viral after a student praised her on her Humans of New York as the most influential person in his life, and people donated nearly $1.4 million for her scholars to visit Harvard. She might understandably get VIP treatment when she would go to the school that she founded. I mean, at least that's what you think, right? But instead, small-minded city educrats treated her like a prowler when she paid a visit to the school on April the 13th. She said she was told not to come there because her presence created tension. Now I'm going to share the screen so you can hear what she has to say. Likes up, everyone please like and share. Make sure you like and share. There should be at least 75% of the likes as there are people in this chat or in watching this video.
So I just came from my hall, and then I was approached by the superintendent and the deputy superintendent, and I was told that my presence creates tension, and that, you know, the principal would rather me not come to the building, even though I was literally here to do a documentary about the school.
And then come say hi to everyone, greet everyone, giving positive energy.
And actually introducing her to Laquana,
yes,
one of the graduates, and then talking about like the connection that Laquana had to Ghana because she's from Nigeria.
It was a pretty good conversation, so I'm kind of confused.
I'm kind of confused too. I literally was told that I shouldn't come back. Like, listen, y'all, let me tell you. I don't even have any words right now.
Now, before I get into the commentary about this situation, someone asked in the chat, did we talk about Chappelle getting attacked on stage? The answer is no, we didn't. Did you see Dave Chappelle's name in the title? Okay, so we didn't talk about Dave Chappelle, all right? I put what we're talking about in the title, and you clicked on the video, so clearly you knew what we're talking about. When I talk about celebrities, right, and things of that nature, it's usually later in the evening. Our morning wake-up calls are for us to wake up. And so we wake up talking about issues in the Black community. Now, with that all being said, I may talk about it later, but here's the thing. Listen to this. So here's the thing. The reason they're telling this woman that, you know, her presence creates tension. Well, it's not that her presence creates tension. Well, you know, in fact, it does. It creates tension for the haters. You see, the reason they don't want her at that school is because this is a Black woman who inspires, motivates, and encourages Black students. She took them to Harvard to let them know that they belong in these institutions as well. You know, and they don't like that, and they don't want anyone uplifting Black people. That's what they don't want. Now, listen to this. Hold on, let me get these pop-ups off of here. Okay, so listen to this. She is now under DOE investigation. This woman is. All right, Nadia Lopez. She's being investigated by the Department of Education. Pay attention. Now, first of all, she said she was told her presence creates tension. I literally was told I shouldn't come back. She is now under DOE investigation for unauthorized visits, for taking photos of students without permission and posting the pictures on her Instagram. This is petty, people. Pay attention, honey. It's very petty. She says, I can't express how hurtful this is. Now, she has never been accused of any type of misconduct and wants nothing more than to lift up the 6 to 8 middle school and its 204 students, 98% of them low-income Blacks and Hispanics. I'm invested in it, she said. Well, they don't want you to be invested in it, beloved. Beloved, they don't want you to encourage, inspire, and motivate Black and Hispanic children, especially low-income Black and Hispanic children. They don't want you to teach them that they can be anything they want if they just put their mind to it. They don't want you to teach them to love themselves and not be ashamed of who they are and from whence they came. They don't want you to do that, because you doing that is contrary to what they want them to learn. Now, after 10 years as principal, Lopez resigned from the school in 2021 to battle an autoimmune kidney disease, which doctors attributed to work-related stress. 12 to 14-hour days, and then she was called a lack of support, or she was said to have given a lack of support, or she was given a lack of support, rather, by the Department of Education. While she was going through this illness, and she had to take like 12 to 14, she was working 12 to 14-hour days, they wouldn't give her any support. Why wouldn't they do that? Well, they didn't want her there. We don't need people like you coming in here influencing these Black and Hispanic students, lady. We don't care if you founded this school. We don't care how much money you raised. We don't care about you taking them on trips to Harvard. We don't care about you teaching them they can be somebody. We want you out of here. So don't come back. Your whole presence, your whole energy is causing trouble. And we're not going to have trouble. That's what we're not going to do. Because you all heard what the Reverend Cleage said. The institution is for their purpose, not hers and not ours. All right? Meek says they're really trying to keep us at the bottom. Absolutely they are. Now, but she stayed in contact with Mott Hall Bridges colleagues and graduates. She stayed in contact with them, who called the school a second family. Now, while gaining renowned fame as a motivational speaker, a consultant, and a leadership coach, she has done all of these things, but they still say she doesn't belong at the school. She recently launched a podcast, Detention, which discusses the problems in public education. The conflict with the DOE brass erupted when Lopez was being filmed near Mott Hall Bridges, which is the school. She was being filmed near the school for a documentary on empowering Black girls. That's when the trouble all started. She was empowering Black girls along with Laquana Lane, an alumni who survived cancer at age 16. Now, Laquana wanted to visit the beloved teacher, Miss Graham. And so the two stepped into the school and signed in with a safety agent. Laquana, who is now 21 years old, hugged and talked with her 6th grade teacher as Miss Lopez stood by. They also told the acting principal, Laura Onwuka, that Laquana's trip to Ghana, or they told her about Laquana's trip to Ghana, which Lopez helped to arrange through a nonprofit run by a fashion model and activist that she was also mentoring. And they said it was a good conversation. But as they walked out, District 23 Superintendent Mia Theresa Pate and her deputy Josephine Van Ness approached. Within earshot of Laquana, Pate told Lopez that she was not welcome to come back to that school. And Laquana said, I was shocked. I felt bad for Miss Lopez, knowing she wasn't allowed to come back to the school that she in fact built. It was pretty sad. According to insiders, the friction started during a prior surprise visit back in March. Lopez sat with Onwuka for nearly an hour, sharing the school's history and best practices. She also gave her successor a bag with a candle, a mug, and a box of tea, bringing her gifts, trying to be nice, right? She gave her a journal and signed a copy of her book. She also handed out many packages for teachers with lifesavers and other candy, packs of tissue and flower seeds. She says, because you plant seeds into students' lives. And you do. That's how we grow and thrive, like I tell you every day. And so but she later ruffled feathers by sending faculty members an email titled, "Thank you, team," that was critical of how the school is being run. And so they didn't like that. She says it's very clear that the current climate and culture does not represent the expectations that I set for our scholars or the staff of our beloved school. This is what she wrote in the email. This is what ticked them off. Those currently appointed to the role of Mott Hall Bridges leadership by the DOE have no idea what it means to be a part of something that was created to defy mediocrity and the status quo. Now, Lopez said teachers had confided in her about low staff morale. In other words, the children are being discouraged. There's low morale because no one's encouraging and inspiring and motivating them like she did. Now, during her visit, she also chatted with students, reminding some of them roaming the halls to get back to class. She filmed a short video and snapped photos of students doing work, posting several images on her Instagram page. And she also met President Barack Obama when he was in office and took a picture with him in the Oval Office, in fact. She says, it's something I always did celebrate, the children of Brownsville in a world that had low expectations of them. She wanted them to know you don't have to have low expectations of yourself. You are destined for greatness, if only you apply yourself. Now, these aren't her exact words. These are my words. But what I'm saying is these are the types of things she did to encourage and motivate and inspire them. All right? She let them know that you don't have to have low expectations. Set your goals high and you can reach and achieve them. Now, the special commissioner of investigation of the city schools confirmed on Friday that the school lodged a complaint against Lopez. The SCI said that it referred the complaint back to the DOE's Office of Special Investigations. Now they're doing all of this. A DOE spokesperson said the agency refuses to comment. And so the DOE slap in the face comes despite Lopez bringing widespread acclaim for a public school in a poor, violence-plagued neighborhood. Lopez and Vidal Chastinat, the 8th grader who spoke to Humans of New York, appeared on TV with Robin Roberts and Ellen DeGeneres. They didn't like that either. How you out here getting on TV and stuff, and they're giving you praises and props for all this hard work that you did, when we want to take the clout for ourselves. We want the credit. That's what it is. See, honey, here's the thing. When you go out there and you work hard and you're out there putting in the footwork, the groundwork, and you're hands-on and you're doing things, there's always somebody sitting in the sidelines, right? Sitting on the sidelines who ain't did nothing. They came after you did the work, after you put in your blood, sweat, and tears and all of that, after you did the struggle. They're coming in after you. And now, since they're in the position that you were previously in, because remember, she was the principal before, but now they have a new principal. So we don't want you coming here taking credit. We want the credit for all this. But you going on Ellen and you doing all of this and having a podcast and all this stuff and the students praising you and former alumni and all of that, that's making us look bad. We're not getting any credit for it. And that's what we want. You see, people will want to steal your credit. That's what people will do. They'll be perfectly fine taking all the praises and glory for your hard work. But then when you complain about it, they'll say, oh, you're clout chasing. Oh, you just want the credit for everything. But in fact, that's what they want. And so President Obama invited Lopez and Vidal to visit him in the Oval Office. Lopez later received a Black Girls Rock Award at an event hosted by Michelle Obama. Lopez gave a TED Talk, a popular online lecture on her management style and mantra. And this is one of the things that she said. He who opens a door closes, he who opens a school door closes a prison. And that was a quote actually from Victor Hugo. That's what she said on TED Talk. Now, 4 years, Lopez used donations to take students in the 6th to 8th grade on visits to Harvard. She did this in 4 years. She did this every year for 4 years straight. And she did this to let them know that they belonged at the most prestigious institutions, just like those who are wealthy and had money. Just because you come from poverty, you don't have to take on a poverty mindset. You don't have to feel that you have to live in lack and that you're less than. That's the things that she taught them. She took them to Harvard as well as Yale, St. Francis College, LaGuardia Community College, and historically Black colleges. She wrote a book titled The Bridge to Brilliance: How One Principal in a Tough Community is Inspiring the World. They don't want to hear that. How dare you, Black woman, come and try to inspire these downtrodden kids who come from downtrodden neighborhoods, who have downtrodden situations, and we want to keep them downtrodden. How dare you try to uplift them? That's why they're mad. That's why she's been banned from a school that she, in fact, founded. This woman is a motivational person. She motivates me. Just reading her book, hearing her story, listening to the students that she has, enlightened and encouraged and motivated and all those things, it's very inspiring. It makes me get chills just reading some of the things and learning some of the things that she did, right? At the end of the day, I'm an adult, and it inspires and motivates me. It makes me want to do more work with children. I work with children, but it makes me want to do even more, take even further steps. I'm so inspired. So if she inspired me, how do you think those children felt? She definitely inspired them. She let them know that they can achieve greatness, and they cannot have that because they want your children to feel like they are nothing, like they don't belong, like they can be nowhere, they can not change their circumstances, that you're living in poverty, and this is just what you have to deal with forever. They want your children to feel as though they have to be worker bees and not bosses, that they have to be worker bees, that they cannot be entrepreneurs and philanthropists. That's what they want them to think. They want them to think in lack and low vibrational and stay enthralled in negativity rather than positivity. They want your children to be pessimistic as opposed to optimistic. They want them to lack ambition rather than being ambitious. That's what they want to do. That's the whole thing. Like that pastor said, the universities, the institutions are for their purpose, not ours. And they can't have someone like her. Now, she's one woman who's done all of these great things. Imagine if there were thousands upon thousands of Black teachers who dedicated their time and efforts to doing the same amount of work and doing the same things. And there are many of them. But let's just imagine if there were so many more, and if there were people like her in every school, you know what would happen? Their school to prison pipeline, that would no longer work. They wouldn't be able to fool and lull our children to sleep and brainwash and indoctrinate them. That's what they wouldn't be able to do. And they know that. So they got to stop her right there at the door before she gets her foot back over the threshold. And then before other Black women and men start doing the same work that she's doing. And that is how you start tearing down the walls of wanton supremacy. One brick at a time. And they know that. And that's just what it is. Okay? So now she's been investigated. Imagine that. You see how the devils do? Every time you take 2 steps forward, they make sure that you take 2 steps back. So you stay stagnant in the same position. And that's just what it is. All right? And so anyway, with that all being said, I'm going to conclude this broadcast. I want to thank you all for tuning in once again. Please like, share, and subscribe. All right? We're going to talk about some very interesting things this evening. Very interesting things this evening. And I hope to see you all in the chat later for your daily vitamins. In the meantime, between time, please like, share, and subscribe. If you enjoy the commentary, that is. If you don't, well, I can't please everybody. But at the end of the day, also, don't forget to follow me on Instagram at QueenAHMADIYYAH'S. You can also follow the Queen AHMADIYYAH'S fan page, and you can follow me on Twitter at DGoddess27. All right, I hope you all have a blessed and prosperous day. Stay high vibrational, motivational, do something productive and constructive, never destructive. And each one teach one. That's how we grow and thrive, right? It's time to unify people. The time for games is done. Okay? The time for games is done. The time for divisiveness is over. It has to cease. At some point, we know that we can't get every Black person on board. We know that everyone is not going to think as we think and not going to agree with us and not going to accept our ideology. And that's okay. Because on journeys in life, what we have to always remember is everyone isn't meant to take that voyage. Everyone is not going to be on the same boat with us. But for those that are on the same boat, those that are willing to endure until the end and take the journey, then those are the ones that we need to focus on and work with. Like minds, right? Iron sharpens iron. Focus on those people. Don't focus on the ones that throw us under the bus. That's what we don't need to focus on, all right? They've already been given into the world of the wicked ones, and they've already chosen their side. And once someone chooses a side, then you let them stay there. And that's just what you do. So anyway, with that all being said, everyone enjoy the rest of this lovely day, and I will talk to you all again soon. All right, so until next time, beloveds. Peace.
In order for you and me to devise some kind of method or strategy to offset some of the events or a repetition of the events that have taken place here in Los Angeles recently, we have to go to the root. We have to go to the cause. Dealing with the condition itself is not enough.
Dear Mr. Massa, I'm just trying to mind my own business. What's the matter? It's just another day, another Black king captured. I'm about to lose my brain, stuck inside this ghetto rapture. I got a lot of smoke. If you want it, you can have it. They want a hat trick, but this is Black girl magic. Ain't talking about the kind that'll make you disappear, but I'm talking about the power of the melanin within. Ain't looking for trouble, but I'ma say this one time. I put 2 dukes up if you try to touch mine. We still want justice for Tamir and Trayvon. You say you don't see color, but racism ain't blind. They targeting little kids whose skin look just like mine. So I'm paranoid, it's a war zone outside. And I'm a Black queen, so if you ask me to step out of my car, you gon' have to snatch me. Cause I ain't going no damn well. Had to spend my whole life living unfair. Ancestors got my back and they right here. You can never understand, it's a nightmare. Living in my Black shoes by the Black rules. You can keep your handshake, I don't dap coons. The white man that go nuts if he cash you. But you all on his side like a damn fool. Make it make sense.
We are oppressed.
Queen.
We are exploited. We are downtrodden.
Make it make sense.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even human rights.
AHMADYYYAH.
So the only way we're going to get some of this
AHMADYYYAH.
oppression and exploitation
Queen.
away from us or aside from us is come together
Queen.
against the common enemy. Who taught you to hate the texture of your
AHMADYYYAH.
hair? Who taught you to hate the color of your skin?
AHMADYYYAH. Parents, pay attention to the books, the school system, given to your little children. Lies mixed with wisdom. His skin too bright, so he was blind to the prison. My skin just right, so I collide with division. You trying to pray to God, but we tired of religion. No savior saving, we got to save our savings. We used to pay miss, how we gon' make the slave rich? But who's to blame, and tell me why you complaining? We need a team effort just to rule the nation. Like a bad relationship, missing communication. We missing moderation. They're trying to get a poison to my population. No reparations. I'm getting tired of Satan.
We are oppressed.
Queen. I'm getting tired of waiting.
We are downtrodden.
Queen.
We are denied not only civil rights, but even